Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Chasing Collectibles Catchup. I'm Tyler, and this is actually our 40th episode doing this. We've been doing this on and off for about 3 years now. So I'm excited to be doing this, and I'm really excited about our guest today. We've got Michael Sutton of Rebel Base Comics. So, Michael, welcome to our show.
Hey everyone, hope y'all are doing all right. Good to be here.
Thank you. And I like to start off whenever we talk about anything comic book related, and we have a comic book guest, whether it's a store manager or vendor or anything like that. I like to talk about what is your comic book origin. So, how did you first get into reading and collecting comic book stuff?
Well, I mean, I like to tell everybody my backstory first. I am severe ADHD, ADD, and have been my entire life. So I was that kid in school.
Right.
Uh, you know, I'm super smart, and not bragging, but I always was. Didn't have to pay attention, couldn't pay attention. And reading was a struggle for me because not because I had a disability or anything, but it was just hard to get me still or hard to get me to focus. So I remember my first couple of books being all about dinosaurs. And in fact, I'm going to see Jurassic World tomorrow. So,
Nice.
but I was pronouncing names of dinosaurs and things like that before, like I was even completing like real, school sentences or anything like that. And I remember probably when I was about maybe 6 years, I don't know, it was young. My dad had to go to the corner market, get some cigarettes, and I went in with him. It was a Wilco gas station, and I saw a spinner rack full of comics, and I grabbed a GI Joe comic book
Mm.
and took it home, cracked it open, and lo and behold, no words. It was the infamous silent issue.
Oh, nice.
I, it was,
That's a perfect starter one.
I mean, I was like, the hell? I was like, I don't remember a whole lot about my like brief childhood moments, but I do remember picking it up and I was like so excited, had snake eyes on the I didn't even know who it was, but this guy in black mask carrying a Uzi scaling down the wall. Get it home, open it up. I was like,
Nothing.
what the hell? I was like, this is so I went in and begged my dad to take me back down there and let me grab another book. And at his begrudging behest, he did. And next book I grabbed was a Spider-Man book, and that was it. I mean, it was a Hobgoblin issue, and I that was it was on from there. I mean,
Right.
it was just that it was that got me to read. It was that got me to pretty much do everything at that point in my life. Spider-Man and dinosaurs. So
Nice.
for a kid that doesn't want to sit still and doesn't want to pay attention, they definitely helped get me to where I am today.
Right. And that is pretty cool because I know I was planning on bringing this up a little bit later, but we both come from education. I'm a social studies teacher, and you spent many years as a band director.
Mm.
And I feel like there's a nice intersection between education and the comic books. They're not, I know we call them funny books, but I mean, there's a lot of use to comics, and it's a good way to get
Exactly.
people into reading. And then some comics are really like, I mean, forms of literature. I mean, some comics you can study and probably teach a whole course on.
Well, my wife is a history teacher as well. And she and I have presented at numerous social studies conferences and stuff about using comic books to teach history
Mhm.
lessons and certain games and everything that you can use. And getting the she even did something called the comic book project several years ago with her classes, getting her kids to put together short comic strips and comic books dealing with certain moments in history and everything. She's learned a lot from me about the use of the power of comic books and even if it's not a superhero or something, there's just something about them that communicates to most people, whether it be the art or the you can read a comic book like that and
Right, exactly.
if you try. And so I was a big believer, like when I was even in the band room, just teaching in general, I made a
Mhm.
lot of comic book references to my kids. Like they picked up on everything I ever said, and everything I ever told them kids listen to, and like three-quarters of my good advice I would ever give them I got from a comic book somewhere.
Yeah.
They might not know it, but when they're older and they hear it in a movie or they hear it in a TV show or actually read it in a comic book, they're going to think back and go, "Oh my God, that was he was just plagiarizing lines at that point." Yep.
Right. Exactly.
Good teachers borrow from the best. So
Yeah.
I
I
I have no shame in that.
Yeah. No, I use in the classroom, I use with great power comes great responsibility all the time. I tell kids, we may not have superpowers as people, but we control our actions and we should use our power to make other people's lives better and, leave positive impacts. So there, I mean, there's tons of ways we can use this stuff.
Well, that was why I always gravitate me toward the character of Spider-Man, because he's broke, I'm broke, we broke,
Right.
and he always tried to do the right thing no matter what the cost. And at the end of the day, he would do the right thing even if it cost him something or he came out on the butt crack end of things. And there is no, and I'm sure you can attest, there is no other feeling that equates to that than being a teacher.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
you,
tiring.
did,
It's
you didn't do it for the money, and you
right.
didn't do it for the recognition or glamour. You did it just because it needed to be done.
You
And
get beat up. Yeah.
yeah, you get beat up. And I retired at the end of December due to a lot of reasons. But after, like, I mean, I look back at my career and smile at 95% of it, because
Yeah.
95% of it was dealing with kids. And
Right.
the the adults just get in the way sometimes.
Yeah. But it is super rewarding just the bonds you make with kids, seeing them grow over time. And I imagine with you in particular, and being a band director, I mean, there's no, I mean, I know my school, Nation Forward, I mean, their band is really good, but I know like those kids form such tight bonds in that band community,
It's
when
it's
you're,
family. It's
yeah,
family. Like the only people I keep in touch with now from high school are old bandmates.
right.
Same thing in college, and same thing now in my personal life outside the classroom. Some of the people that I communicate with most are former band parents or former. In fact, I had a former marching band student drop by the store and see me today. She was in
Oh,
Charlotte with
nice.
her family and came running in. It was a super fun surprise. I mean, the connections that it's real funny how the comic book world and the teaching world intersect with bonds
Yeah.
that people make. Because you go to something like Heroes Con, and like I have a really good friend. His name is Dave. I met him at Heroes Con about 5 years ago. We were standing in line to get in together,
Mhm.
and we just started talking, found out we were both teachers, and now it's kind of like a standing date that at Heroes Con every year we get together, catch up and
Yeah.
everything. So and I know he lives in California, but we keep up with each other on Facebook and things like that. And he's somebody I would have never ever met in my life as a teacher, but I stood next to him in a comic book line, and
Right.
it's really cool how a lot of things parallel in the two things. And I continue to tell people that I was lucky enough to do one passion for almost 30 years and slide right into another one. Not a lot of people get to do that. I'm really lucky, blessed with that.
Yeah. That is really special. I mean, you get to, after being band director now, with your work at Rebel Base, I mean, I was lucky enough to work at a comic book store full time for a year. I'm just part time technically, but I mean, like that was my main job. Was I worked at Nickel Spot for a year, and I always tell people like that was so cool to like. I mean, your uniform is a T-shirt of your favorite superhero. You're dealing with comic books, and sure, is stuff like any job you can gripe about some
It's
stuff, but
it's retail. When at the
yeah, it is
at the
retail.
end of the day, it's retail, and things are always going to suck about retail.
But like Nick would come in sometimes and be like, "Hey, I need you to take a picture of this comic," and I look at it, and it's like the second appearance of the Riddler from like, the Golden Age. I'm like, Okay," or like, "Here's the first appearance of Iron Man. Let's post this on eBay." So things I could never afford on my own, I'm getting to just touch, and I'm like, this feels wrong. Like,
Yeah,
you know, like,
doesn't that suck? You know,
yeah,
have it come through the store and you're like, damn, I'm poor. You know, I like
right, exactly. I'll
kudos to the person that can afford it. You know,
well, when I'll sometimes I try to like, kind of not flex, but like I guess pique the interest of my students. I've got comic book posters in my room, and I'll point out some. I'm like, this book sells for like 1 million, like Action Comics one, and I'll tell them like Amazing Fantasy 15. My store owner had a copy of that, but it was like a point 0.5 once. Like it was not a great copy, but we are selling it. And I think we sold it for like thousands of dollars. So I'm like, this
well,
copy that
I
was
mean,
barely together, point 0.5, sold for thousands of dollars. And they're like, their jaws drop. They're like, what? It's that? I'm like,
it's
yeah,
still an AF-15. You know,
right,
even at
exactly.
0.5. You know, even at 0.5.
Right. Well, I can tell. I was going to ask you who your favorite character is, but I can kind of tell from your background, Spider-Man's probably among your favorites.
It's a no brainer with Spider-Man and the entire Spider-Man universe. I mean, it's
Right.
like I said, it's a no brainer. I mean, I'm a huge Godzilla fan. I'm a huge Alien, as in the Xenomorph fans. But at the end of the day, my guy is Spidey. My girl is Mary Jane. Not
Right.
the one in the comics right now, but yeah, but that's my go-to. And yes, I wear it literally on my sleeve
Nice.
every single day. My wedding band is Spider-Man, and luckily have a very understanding wife who may not get it all, but is very tolerant of my obsession. And yes, I have accepted it as an obsession. It's
Well, that's
okay.
good. That's the first step to addressing
Yeah,
the problem. But
I'm good with that word. It's fine. Yeah.
right. That's funny. The parallels are, or I don't know. I think you've maybe met him or a couple of times at least. Lauren, who he's got Purple Spider Comics now, but he used to be our manager over at Nickel Spot. He's
Yeah.
very into. He's got his own Spider-Man room also. So I think it's interesting the two managers at these various stores are both, you know,
It's well,
big Spider.
he's an easy character to love. I mean,
Right.
and
Exactly.
you know, I hear all the time, you know, who's your favorite character? Batman. Why? Well, he's Batman, and I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, can you give me a reason? Well,
Right.
he's Batman, you know, and I'm like, okay, moving on, because
Yeah.
that's and no disrespect to any Batman fans out there, but that's I can't tell you how many times that I've talked to hardcore Batman fans, and they're like, well, he's Batman. That seems to
Yeah.
be
That
the
he's that's that.
summation.
You got to give a little bit more than that.
Yeah, I'm like, you know, and but with me and Spider-Man, there are like legitimate reasons that I can
Yeah.
break down, like life lessons I've learned from him. Good Lord, the character helped me achieve my teaching license. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I wrote my final teacher licensure exam on Spider-Man, and
Oh, really? What? How'd you
it
work that
was
out?
the prompt at the time for the national teacher examination was pick a role model and explain how they helped you get through your life and form your teaching philosophy.
Hmm.
And I was like, everybody's going to do their mom and their dad.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to pick somebody famous. So I picked someone that wasn't real. Perfect score, you know.
That's
So
that's really cool.
whoever read it liked it. So but it was like real legitimate points that I pointed out of the book about is, you know, he pulls punches, even though
Yeah.
he can break your jaw with a flick of a wrist. He pulls punches because he really doesn't want to hurt people, but he wants to do the right thing, and he's always sacrificing relationships and everything to do the right thing. And I knew I was entering a profession where I was going to have to do the same thing. That you
Right.
know, being a band director, especially for the first 20 years, where I was doing full time marching band and everything like that, I was away from home a lot. I mean, a
Hmm. Oh yeah.
absent husband, band director, wife is not an easy thing to be. And while she's finding that a comic book store manager is probably not the easiest thing to deal with either. I'm gone for almost as many conventions as I was
Yeah.
marching conventions. But it's he's such an easy character to get behind when well written. I
Hmm.
will say that. In his heyday through the late 70s through the 80s, uh, you everyone wanted to be Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted to take that model and make their comic book character like that because of people like, God bless him, Jim Shooter, who just passed away,
Mhm.
Mike Zeck, John Beatty, John Romita, Stan Lee, of course, Steve Ditko, all of those people that had a creation of his first, I would say probably like 200 issues, formed someone that was easy to like, easy to root for, and not overpowered, which is a tendency, in my opinion, for a lot of superhero characters nowadays. You simply who's going to beat you, you
Right.
know.
Exactly. Well,
Spider-Man's always one of those ones that's always kind of almost down for the count a lot.
you often get an image toward the end of the comic of like, the mask broken, hair sticking out, struggling a bit.
And that's
And
how a good chunk of us feel 6 days a week.
yeah, exactly. It's
that
relatable.
image, that the face hanging out, the hair all muscle, but you still
You
get back up.
persevere, yeah.
You get back
And
up and you did it.
well, what's unique about, and I've watched interviews with Stan Lee about when he was making Spider-Man. This is at the time, and this is kind of true of a lot of Silver Age heroes. When the Silver Age started in the '60s with Marvel, was that where you're making characters that are flawed. Yeah, in early superheroes like Batman, Superman, in their early days at least, were very like larger than life, and they don't have flaws. But like with Spider-Man, he's a teenager, and even now a young adult who doesn't have it all together. Which,
No,
like you
they're
said, I
still
mean,
right. They're
none of us.
still writing him as a teenager. So,
Yeah, okay.
which I could do an entire
I'm sure. Yeah,
podcast on the current state of Amazing Spider-Man right
I'm
now.
not. I've we don't have to get into it because I want to stay positive, but I've fallen behind on my Spider-Man, but I honestly recently just like, you know what, I'm just gonna put it in my books and I'm hoping with the next number one that we'll see
but
where it goes, I
but
guess.
but I run to Ultimate Spider-Man every month.
Yes,
That
yes,
is my
Ultimate
book.
Spider-Man.
That is
He
my
can
book.
actually be married, he can have kids.
He can have a life
Yes.
and still be awesome too. Which I mean, literally is the American dream when you get down to it.
Yeah.
But you look back at Golden Age Superman, Golden Age Batman, and they are self-professed. You read those characters, and they're like the Greek and Roman gods.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're which is where a lot of our comic book mythology comes from. There's offshoots of characters that we've read about before, just tweaked with a little bit different take. We wanted them to be larger than life. We wanted them to be completely unbelievable
Mhm.
because anything else would be just blasphemy on real life.
Yeah.
Come along Spider-Man, who was a throwaway character.
Yeah.
He they Stanley tried for months to try and get this character greenlit, and they said, "Fine, you can put him as a backstory in the last issue of this
That's the
run they were
confidence. Yeah.
canceling." And boom, look at it. I mean, like at all of a sudden, people are like, "You mean a superhero can be not perfect?
Yeah.
Uh, he can be a dork. It's okay to be smart. It's okay. It's
Right.
okay to be a nerd." And here we are, 65 years later, and still rocking him out.
Yeah, and I guess to tie it back to the education bit is Stan Lee. I can't remember what year it was, but he gave a commencement speech at one point, and he told that story. And that's a video I often show my students. The fact that Stan Lee had this idea, his publisher was like, no, no, fine, just put it at the end of this thing and whatever. No one really believed in this idea, and then all of a sudden it takes off and just I mean there's again so many life lessons we can learn both in the characters and the I guess the behind the scenes too of how all this came to be.
Well, his life motto was like always, never let anyone tell you what you're gonna do,
Right.
and that's I've done my best to follow that, my entire life, because we all have roadblocks and challenges and everything, but at the end of the day, you're gonna do what you're gonna do. You
Right.
make your own choices, you make your own decisions, and I think that's well reflected in a lot of characters from that era. But Spider-Man in particular being, I think, the one to embrace it the best.
Right.
You can take your Iron Mans, Iron, and this is again my opinion. Iron Man's Batman, Batman's Iron Man. They're they're, you know, you got two billionaires building all their stuff, super smart, great, cool characters, no doubt about it. And then you've got Spider-Man who's sitting in his bedroom tweaking away with his little chemistry kit, making web,
Right.
and he's more scared that he's going to be late for second period than stopping this, you know, runaway rhino
Yeah,
or
it's
whatever.
relatable.
There's just something like there's just something human about him, and that has always drawn me to him. You can, you know, it's okay to be in this fight. And you know, some of my favorite panels over the years were him, where he was in knockdown, drag out fights with supervillains, and you get the thought bubbles. He was like, "Man, Aunt May's going to kill me for being late or not breaking." And
Right.
I'm like, "That's what you're thinking about right now.
Yeah,
Your
exactly.
aunt who's in the hospital for the 98th time." So it's just always amusing to go back and read panels like that and to go, man, he was like just so different than everybody else at the time, you know.
Yeah. There's a reason people love him, and I think that's definitely among them. Um, so you manage Rebel Base Comics, and I grew up in the Charlotte area. I was born in Charlotte, moved to Fort Mill. I live in Rock Hill now. So my stores I went to growing up were always either Heroes, Dave's Comics, or Rebel Base, and it's such a cool store. How did you end up kind of being in this role?
Well, I mean, I as soon as I moved to Charlotte, I immediately started going to, you know, another comic book store, and it didn't work out. We'll just
Mhm.
say that. And I ended up over at Rebel, and it was super friendly. So, and the fact that it was kind of in the cool, tucked away basement, and you know,
Yeah,
kind of gave you a little speakeasy type of thing, you know, atmosphere when you go in. And I've literally have just been a customer for years and years, and it came down like I mean, it's really it came down to they posted an ad about 3.5 years ago for part-time help when they were getting ready to open Temple's Edge in downtown Matthews, and they wanted to do an extension of the store. And I was like, you know what the hell? I was like, you know, I've been shopping there forever. I know everyone that works there. I was like, I know the product just as good as
yeah,
anything
exactly.
there. Why not? And lo and behold, I'll just started working part time, working, and it went to both locations, and it just sort of kind of progressed to the point that I was kind of managing Temple's Edge without knowing it, and then the opportunity, you know, he had talked to me about when I retired, coming on as manager, and I'll never forget the conversation was like, well, how about I speed that process up a little bit? And
Yeah,
what if I told you that I could, and the rest is history. You know, I've been working in basically the management assistant management role there for a while, but January 1st of this year is when the official title came on, and I'm loving every minute of it. Like loving the customers that I've got to know like really good over the years. Faces that I just used to see while I was getting my books are now, you know, friends for lack of a better word. And we've got a great customer base at Rebel that you know, I know all the comic shops in the area are pretty solid. You know, I've been to most of them, shopped at most of them, but the customer base we have at Rebel Base is really special.
yeah,
And I can say the same thing about my employees. We just hired two new people, Zoe and Nikki, to the team, and they're great. They're like jump in head first, and Kat and Eric and Patrick that's been with us for a good since we Eric and Kat since we opened Temple's Edge same time, are great as well. We've got a great cohesive team that work together, and it's made for if you have not been to Rebel Base lately, you need to come in because the vibe is like totally different. I mean, it's a place people want to come hang out. You know,
yeah.
they you know they come in to get their books, and 2 hours later they're still there
They're
hanging
hanging
out.
out. Yeah, that's great.
And that's exactly I honestly I wanted it to feel like a band room in a school, and you
Hmm.
know it's your safe space. You want to come, you don't want to leave. That was always my room at school. You know, I had kids. Excuse me. I never had a moment to myself. I spent almost 30 years with someone. I never had a moment by myself because there are always kids in there. Even when I was going, aren't you supposed to be in math class? What are you doing
Yeah,
in
exactly.
here?
Yeah.
And I really, really take that attitude with Rebel Base. I want people to be in there. I want people to come, and I want to be a destination spot when
Yeah.
people come and tourists and come in. Our tourist population, our out of town customers, is upticked quite a bit as of late because they're reading the Google reviews. They're getting on and doing searching. And I've never been prouder to be part of the team than I am right now because things are great, store's great, customer base is great, employees are great. Like I literally really enjoy getting up in the morning going to my job. It's something that, I always said for years, I love teaching, but I hate education. Like they're
Yeah.
two different things. I get up in the morning now and I'm like, I'm going to work.
It's an awesome feeling. Yeah.
It's a totally different feeling than
Yeah.
I was. I get to go see my kids at school, yes, but I still have to deal with everything else I do. This is the fun kitty part that I loved about teaching, just over and over.
Without
Yeah,
without all the other stuff.
without all the other stuff, and it's great. I'm loving it.
Well, that's awesome. And just I took note of a couple of this, and some of these things are, would predate you becoming
Yeah,
like the manager title, but like there's so many cool things going on in Rebel Base this year. Last couple of years, I know you guys had the Godzilla and Spider-Man variant, which is super cool. You guys have had amazing guests like Lou Ferrigno, Ray Park, some Power Rangers the last couple of years. I mean, what could you speak to that a little bit? Like, 'cause that's all so cool. I mean, it's beyond just like being a comic book store. Like you're having people showing up doing these variants. It's
well,
really neat.
we want to be that destination that's known for, like, the inventory in our store is a little bit of everything.
Hmm.
So we want to be that spot that's a little bit of everything. We want the Star Wars people. We want the Power Ranger people. We want the straight up comic people. So we do our best when we do special events to incorporate as many members of our customer audience as we can. Like take the Godzilla Spider-Man book. Both Troy and I are huge Godzilla and Spider-Man fans. And we kind of just were kicking around the idea of doing a store variant for that book. And I was like, dude, what if we got like Perillo to do this book? And Troy was like, oh no, I don't know about Perillo. Like, do you think he'd do this? And I was like, dude, I was like, did you see his 70th anniversary Godzilla cover? It's the only Godzilla cover he's ever done. I bet he would jump at the chance of doing a second one.
Right.
And if you don't know about the process of doing a store cover, you have to contact Marvel and you give them a list of artists that you would like to work on the cover, and you give them like the top three. And Perillo was our top person, and Art Adams I think was second, I desperately wanted to ask Jenny Frison to do it because I love Jenny Frison, but
That would have been good.
I didn't need beautiful Godzilla. I needed Godzilla,
Yes, exactly. Raw Godzilla.
and lo and behold, they contacted us about maybe 2.5, 3 weeks later and said, Perillo's on board. Let's talk ideas. And
Nice.
I spat a few ideas back and forth. Initially, I wanted the pose on the book. If you haven't seen our store exclusive, you really need to because it's amazing.
It's cool.
And and it's the only store exclusive. We were the only comic book store in the nation that rolled on a store exclusive for that book. So it literally is one of a kind.
Wow.
I initially wanted in that swinging that Spider-Man's doing in front of Godzilla's mouth, I wanted him carrying Mary Jane, saving
Mm.
her. And Perillo responded, I would, I love the idea, but I would really like to just focus more on Godzilla and put Spider-Man right where he needs to be. And there's a reason why he's one of the top 10 artists in the world because he was
Right.
right. As much as I love Mary Jane on any cover, I was like, okay, I could do without her when we saw
Yeah.
the final product. Um, so it was fantastic to have that collaboration with him and Marvel. Not cheap by any means, but it was super worth it for us not only to have something that was ours, but literally the only store
Hmm.
exclusive for that book we're very proud of that. As for some of our celebrity, like we just had Richard Chavez in a couple of months ago. He's Poncho and Predator and starred on several Star Trek stuff, and he was fantastic. He is such a down to earth guy. Like, I mean, he is the most humble actor you will ever meet either. Like, he wanted to talk to the fans. He hung out and talked with us like an hour before his thing started.
That's excellent.
Just
That's awesome.
I mean, just the most down there. If you ever get a chance to meet Richard, like, do so. He loves talking about Predator. He loves talking about anything, to be quite honest with you. And he's literally one of the most inspirational people I've ever met. Like, his some of his stories where I was like, good God, man, like, gee,
Mm.
we're all like, I mean, like, I felt bad about myself after
Right.
listening to him. And we had Lou Ferrigno before that. I mean, who doesn't want to meet the Incredible Hulk,
Exactly.
And he's another one that's like, he is the Incredible Hulk. You don't you hear stories of like people like not just like Daniel Radcliffe, who he's tired of Harry Potter,
Yeah, he
or
doesn't want to talk about. I'm sure he's done with it. Yeah.
and as much as I'm a huge Office fan, like, it's my favorite TV show ever. I can watch it on loop. Rainn Wilson doesn't, like, he's tired of, I'm not Dwight. I want, yeah, you
Mhm.
are though. Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
thing. To billions of people you are. So, like, Lou Ferrigno is the Incredible Hulk. Like, I mean, he's like, that's him. He's like, he loves it, and he'll sit there and do the lines from the show and quote stuff from the show, and it's just, it's one of the few actors I've ever met in my life who is like, yeah, okay, that's who I am. I'm just
Yeah.
going to embrace it and roll with it because that's the role that made my career.
Mm.
Uh, and and as for Ray Park, again, super genuine guy. I mean, when you get to stand next to Darth Maul, it's pretty sweet. And then
Yeah.
you
That's
realize,
wild.
oh, he's Snake Eyes too, and oh, he's Toad, and it all kind of like hits when you're standing next to this just regular dude who's like shaking your hand and calling you buddies, like X-Men, Star Wars, and GI Joe. I'm like, it was a lot. So again, one of the nicest guys you ever meet. Signed a whole bunch of stuff at the store without a question. It's like, I mean, we've had Clayton Crane in the store, and of course we support local artists all the time on Free Comic Book Day, and I am working as of today, working on, and I think it's going to end up working out. We're hopefully going to have Stephanie Williams at the release of her new Street Sharks book in the
That's
middle of September.
great.
So I'm working with her agent now, and that looks pretty solid. So hopefully,
Sweet.
when her new Street Shark books debuts in the middle of September, she's going to come to a signing over at our place.
That's amazing. See, that's kind of goes back to what you're saying, making it a destination place to go to, which is
Well,
great.
not many people walk around with Sam Jones's number in their phone, but when you got Flash Gordon's number in your phone, you feel pretty good.
And
Uh,
I imagine.
because we're working. He's my next big project for the store.
Nice.
Is the next big actor we want to have now, because again, he's super personable. He is Flash Gordon. He's another one that
Right.
he realizes where his fan base is, and that's it. You might as well embrace it. You can shun your fans or you can embrace them. And guys like Ferrigno and Sam and Richard that know who's paying their bills and knows who's buying their stuff. It's so nice to see artists,
Yeah.
actors and professionals not look at their audience and go, okay, I'm done with that part of my life.
Right.
You may be, but we aren't.
Right. I mean, you can understand where they're coming from. Oh, I want to be known for multiple things, but at the same time, it's like, okay, but these, the fans really appreciate your performance as so and so. So at least, give them the time of day. And it's great to hear that they are, those.
And yeah, they have everybody that I have dealt with, and the Power Rangers were, one of them was before I worked before I was there, and the other one was when I was mainly at Temple Edge. But I hear the same thing about them. Gracious people, know their target audience, always happy to to talk with fans about the subject matter. And Power Ranger fans, man, they're like super dedicated. Like
Oh yeah, I've seen some icons, and they're
they know
really
they know which
they know
iteration
everything.
of team they want to meet. They know everything about it, and I'm like, yeah, they do karate, right? I'm
Yeah,
like,
I know very little.
I know almost nothing about them, but I know people love them. So
Yeah,
even though it may not be like our thing, we know that people will appreciate it. If we're gonna sell Power Ranger stuff in the store, we have to do things for them too.
yeah, you
And
got to
that's
know your
kind of
stuff, and
yeah, that's kind of the idea behind all our celebrities and artists and stuff like that that we bring in. Is that we don't want to ignore any sect of our audience at any point. So we're always trying to look for ways to diversify and do different things with people. And most of the time we hit a pretty solid
yeah,
triple, if not a home run. So I think we've gotten pretty good at it.
that's awesome. Well, I want to switch gears a little bit from something very positive to something I think that maybe be a little bit of a headache. And Tim had actually talked to me about, bringing this up a little bit. When I worked at a comic book store, I helped deal with, pull lists and all that, and Diamond was still a thing. And Diamond would be very frustrating with, sometimes they'd bring in damaged stuff or they forget stuff. So I know all about that. But I know like Diamond's kind of on its way out. And
Oh,
you're trying
Diamond is.
Diamond is out, yeah. So how are you? I think I saw something on Facebook today um, about a new platform that you guys are using. So how are you guys approaching pull lists going forward?
Actually, we are kind of looking for the silver lining behind this. For those of you that aren't, in the know or haven't heard, what they're still calling Diamond, which is really the remnants of Diamond, the ad Poplum era where they went in and bought them. Ad Poplum's doing a strip and dump. I have no problem saying it because they've done nothing but make retailers' lives miserable for weeks now, and they're screwing everybody that they're still in business with. They're still not paying Dynamite Publishing. They're still not paying they're not doing anything that they're supposed to be doing.
Hmm.
And the nail in the coffin came this when I saw this weekend that they had up and decided to fire the entire tech department at Diamond, who were working on Comic Suite and the point of sale system. So everybody was kind of notified through like social media because that's the way
Yeah,
you do things now. That if you were still using Comic Suite as your point of sale and your subscription system, that it will work for a while longer, but basically we don't know. We've been having inventory issues for weeks now. We're having to hand key like everything in, and half the books that show up to us don't scan, and it is extremely frustrating that knowing we paid for this service and everything, that now all of a sudden we have to switch gears. But luckily I'm a planner. Troy's a planner. Rebel Base was prepared because we had already switched most of our ordering to Lunar and Penguin Random House, and like a year or 2 years ago, and we were using Diamond to get the folks like Dynamite and Hardcase and Titan, and thankfully all of them now have moved to one of the other big two. So we have cut off Diamond completely. Like the POS was the last straw. No,
hmm,
excuse me. The phantom $3,000 invoice that we got from them for
oh,
stuff that they can't tell us what it's for
it's not
was
great,
the final straw,
right?
and I was like, "F Diamond." I was like, "We're no, we're done with this." So we're switching our sub pool system to League of Comic Geeks, and they have been great walking me through the full retailer side of League of Comic Geeks the past several days. Because it's tough being a manager who realizes that you're leaving for Chicago next Wednesday morning for G Fest for 5 days, and that your point of sale may crap out at
Yeah,
any time while you're
not
going.
stressful at all.
So I've picked another point of sale company, and they're going to be great. I'm going to start working with them on Monday, and we're going to make the full convert after we get back from Chicago. But as for sub pools, we're going with League Comic Geeks, and all we're basically asking you to do as all our subbers is that you're going to start taking responsibility for your subs. We're going to pull and we're going to pull and we're going to put them in your box and you're going to get your same discount and you're getting everything, except now you're going in and putting what you want in instead of coming in and telling us. And it's going to save a lot of why didn't I get my book? Well, you're not subbed. That's why you
Yeah.
didn't get your book. So if you don't get a book or you miss FOC, which League of Comic Geek allows you to search by FOC cutoff dates when you're a retailer, when you're an actual, which I turned on today, and all of a sudden, all our people who have done a wonderful job so far of converting their pull list over. We had a whole brand new list of names today. Um, you get to search by FFC. So you literally see the same thing we do now, as in when these books need to be ordered to make sure you get them. And we're taking this opportunity to not only streamline our sub process, because now we've been pulling subs from Diamond, League, emails, Facebook messages.
Mhm.
I mean, like it's just enough. And
Yeah.
so we're you get one. We're all going to agree on one, and you're going to get your books if you do the one simple thing that we ask you to do, which is sign up and link us and put your books in
Yeah.
and click click click, and you're going to get your books because it delivers an FOC report at the end of every week. We know how much we need to order. This is also going to help our ordering, because if you've been to Rebel Base lately, the new shelves are always just stacked full. They're
Mhm.
always stacked full, and that's you take a chance on the number one, you end up with 40 copies left at the end of the week. You don't take a chance on the number one, and you have 15 customers that wanted it, didn't get it. So having accurate FOC reports and accurate numbers on how many we need to order at the end of a week is going to just help so much. And it's going to reduce the number of clutter books that we have on the shelf. We're not going to have to dollar and $2 out as many books as we do after 6 months. And it's just, it should, everyone I talked to today is like, okay, I'm down with this. And
Yeah.
that's literally the response that I need to hear, because if you decide not to do it, then I don't know what to do, because you're not going to get your books. And
Right.
if you want to get mad at me because I'm asking you to take 30 seconds to sign up on our website, then I, I don't know what you did. I only had one customer today look at me and go, "Well, that's a lot of work," and I'm like,
Is it?
it is. I'll do it for you right now. Like
Yeah.
I'm keeping my laptop in the store so that if anybody can't figure out how to find us, I'm doing it right there for you. I'm even going to record a tutorial video on how to sign up this weekend, and
Nice.
I'm going to post it on the social. I'm going to do everything. We have the cheat sheets that I made up, and we're doing everything we can to make this super seamless. All we need to do is people to sign up and tell us what books they want, and then it rolls on from there.
I mean, I think it's great to like also, you definitely support your local comic book store because like with that, it's nice that you can, and it sounds similar where you just put whatever books you want. And I know if you just tell your comic book store, well, I do Batman, I do Superman, I do whatever, but then every so often they have different events. And if you don't know about those events, you miss out on
And
them. So now
somebody
you
walks
can,
in, somebody walks in and go, "I do Batman." I'm like, okay, there's 47 Batman titles, right?
exactly,
Do you want all
is
47, or
right.
so this switch to League is gonna give our customers way more power over their stuff.
Mhm.
We don't have to guess anymore. And in the old Diamond and Comic Suite, you couldn't sub to a one shot.
Yeah.
You couldn't sub to a trade paperback. You had to wait for those things to come in the store and then grab one. Or we had to guess if it was an X-Men one shot. Do we give it to all the people who do X-Men? Do we give it to all the people who do Uncanny? Because they're not the some of them are not the same people. And if we play the guessing game, someone always misses a book, and we hate that.
Right.
So now you have the ability to go in and choose your books. As long as you do it on time, man, we're going to order your book. The only thing that happens at that point is if they don't send it to us, and then
Yeah.
our
You just
store.
got to do that. You got to remind yourself, put a reminder in your phone, do something to say,
Well,
hey, at the end of this month, I gotta,
what I always loved was people would come in every week and go, "Do you have the new previews? Do you have the new previews? Do you have the new previews?" Okay, this is the same thing.
right.
It's
It's
like
just a preview, but it's
it's
online.
they have a calendar that goes 3 months in advance. And I'm like, you can go all the way to like the end of October right now and reserve your, pull subscribe to your series. And it's no work at all unless you make it work. The hardest work is having restraint that you don't want 9 covers for for
Yeah.
this book, because you have the option of choosing all those covers. And that's going to be great, because if only one customer wanted the cover of this book, that's
Get
what
it
we
from that
order.
one person.
And we
Yeah.
order that one person, maybe one shelf copy, and boom. The old adage is you don't go out of business by selling out of stuff. And we're always going to have shelf copies of everything, but we really need 78 extra copies of Captain America #1? No. Do we have 78 extra copies of Captain America #1? Yes. Come buy a Captain America #1 purple base.
Well, and that sounds really good. I'm really excited for you guys to be doing that because that sounds like a really, I know it takes 30 seconds of effort and once a month you got to do your put them in, but it sounds really exciting and really nice for both the customer experience
we're
and
we're looking
as the
forward to it.
sellers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're really looking forward to it.
Well, I want to talk about one more thing, and that's conventions. So that's another side of things. Is there's a store itself, then you get to do conventions. I guess what is your favorite thing about going to cons? I know it's a lot of work loading in, some work loading out. It can be tiring, but what's your favorite thing about doing cons?
I, as much as I don't like to admit it, I'm a people person, and you kind of had to be if you're going to teach.
Yeah,
One of my superpowers in the classroom with my kids was always trying to make them think that I was the meanest monster on earth, and that I wasn't a piece of. That they saw through that in like 2 seconds. I really am a people person. I used to say all the time, I hate people, but I'm a people person. And one of the best things is when I get to go to a new location or something that's not local, I get to meet a whole new breed of comic book and toy people, and to see the similarities and to see the differences at each of the end. Each convention is its own living, breathing entity. And the ones you're going to go to and make a lot of money. The ones you're going to go to and make okay money. The ones where you're going to go and you're just there because you're there.
yeah,
And we're trying to cut out some of those. But we have really, because I'm not afraid to travel and I don't mind traveling, we've added, like, after Heroes Con, of course, a couple of weeks ago, best Heroes Con Rebel Base has ever had, like, hands down. It
and,
was
and your setup looked great.
it was phenomenal. Yeah, I had a great time. Con was great. There was a good vibe there this year, and it turned into retail dollars, which we graciously appreciate, because we had such a good Heroes Con. Now we're actively on the look for bigger and better books for the store now. So all we do is turn around and put it right back into the
Mhm.
store. Um, I don't mind traveling, and I like going places that I either haven't been or that I only get to go. I've got 9 conventions coming up in the next 4 months.
Wow, busy.
So I must like it, because I'm either that or I'm really stupid. Either one. But we've got 2 big licks coming up. Of course, Rick Dave's and Concord, Soda City, PowerCon, Dragon Con, of course, and Baltimore and Virginia Beach, and I probably missed one in there, but we've added quite a few cons on our slate, because A, I don't mind traveling. B, it's it's a rare opportunity to get out there and get your brand known by other parts of the nothing pleases me more than to go to Baltimore and they go, oh, Rebel Base is here, and I'm like,
Yeah, that's
that's
that
awesome.
cool feeling.
We're 10 hours away from home, and they're like, so glad y'all are back. And that's awesome. And they're, I feel partly kind of responsible that Big Lick is coming to Greensboro this year, because me and JD talked one of the Big Licks about a year ago, and I don't know if he was already planning it, but I like just blurted out to him when we were talking. You should come to North North Carolina. You should probably do a show in Greensboro. And lo and behold, we've got one coming this October. And JD Sutton is a fantastic promoter, and he does a wonderful job at the show in Roanoke. And I'm really looking forward to the one here in Greensboro, because the Greensboro area is starving for a good comic show. Uh, and because I'm from that area, I know personally it's starving for something other than Galaxy Con, which half the people can't afford to go to.
Yeah,
Because
it's
so
they need some a little smaller,
it's
not
so expensive. Well, they just need something more non-celebrity heavy.
yeah, exactly. That's the thing.
And a little
I've done GalaxyCon twice. It's fun, but it's pricey and
you
it's
well, I mean, what do you do as a vendor when you're sitting there and everybody spent their money on meeting celebrities, and then you still got
hmm,
2 days of con left?
yeah,
You read your own stock is what you do, because you're not serving any customers at that point because they're all broke. I and as much as I'm not talking crap about his cons at all, but JD at Big Lick, and Sheldon at Heroes, and several and the guys that run Baltimore, all have the same idea in mind. We want to produce a show where the people will be happy and the vendors will be happy. And if
right.
you can find that mix, I'm going to go to your show every single time. I'm not even gonna. I'm just going to fill out the application, pay the fee, and go, because I think the further you can get your brand out, that's why I'm on social media so much. It's not because I'm an egomaniac. It's not because I like to see my face digitally all over everything. Promotion of your brand, letting people know what's going on in your store is important.
Right.
And I just happen to like to talk, so it was a perfect fit for me to go on board and revitalize our social media presence, and it's done wonders. It's kind of weird having people come up to you at a con and go, "I love your videos," and I'm like, "I have no
Right.
idea who
I
you
don't know
are,
who
but
you are.
I appreciate it. I look forward to your Saturday morning update every morning, or I saw your Toy Agus interview. That was awesome." I'm like, "Thanks. I don't know you, but man, it's awesome. Thank you."
Yeah.
A little weird sometimes, but it's everything I do is for the promotion of the store, promotion of our brand, and getting people. We are all about the in-store experience. Like
Yeah.
we have a website, but it stinks, and we have an eBay presence, but it's not for the good stuff. And I've been doing Whatnot on Monday nights for the past almost year now. That's been uber successful, because that's another platform I can show my face on and talk while I'm selling comic books. Um, so uh, I I like getting my if I'm inadvertently the face of Rebel Base, not because I sought after, just because it kind of happened. Cool, because if people look at me and think Rebel Base, then I'm doing my job, and that when they walk in the store and go and
That guy.
yeah, that guy, you're the guy we watch every Saturday morning. We finally decided to come see your shop. I've done my job. I've
Yeah,
got them in the
exactly.
store, and then it's up to them to pick out what they're going to get, because I'm not a high pressure salesperson at all. In fact, I don't consider myself a salesperson. I'm a bad influencer.
Yeah.
I we are a store of no needs. We are a store of wants. And when
Yeah.
you walk in that store, you want something. You just may not know what it is yet, but you'll find it.
Yeah.
You'll find it.
The when it comes to Archon appearances, I'm a little more passive when it comes to selling, and Tim is a real salesman. Sometimes too much of a salesman. I think he'll if someone comes up to me like, "Hey, here's our offers right now. Do you like any certain character? Anything?" He'll be fine. And they're like, "No, I'm just looking." Like, "Oh, I'll let you have your space." Tim will be like, "Do you like this? Let me show you this." I mean, he a lot of times it
I,
works, but
I,
he's very
I'm a little bit of that, but one of the things that I learned in the classroom over almost 30 years is you can tell a lot about a person by the first thing they say out of their mouth, and how they look and how they react to certain things.
mhm,
If you'll watch a customer's eyes and what they gravitate to, you'll know in about 20 seconds what they're looking for, or something
yeah,
in that. And more importantly, listen. A lot of store owners hurt themselves by launching into a customer as soon as they walk through the door. And
yeah.
we're not selling used cars, y'all. We're not
He's like,
selling real
what can I
estate.
do to get you in this brand new Hulk 181, or whatever?
Exactly, and I like guys. It's not even like if you. I treat a $10 action figure as much of a sale as $1,000 comic. Everything helps keeps the lights on and pays the bills. If you come in and you spend $5 on a blind box, whatever, or you spend $500 on a book, you are just as important because
Mhm.
you are supporting a small business.
Yeah.
And if more store owners and store managers and employees would just stop and listen to their customers for a minute, instead of telling them what they want, you're going to get results. And I
Yeah.
pride myself in that. I ask them if I can help them find something, and if they say no, they're going to lead you to what they're looking for.
Exactly.
They're gonna find it. You're gonna see the
You're
look,
smart.
and that's when you step in and it help them path the way to it.
Yeah.
I don't like high pressure sales myself. Nothing annoys me more than walking in a place and going, "Hey, can I show you what we got going on today?" No.
Right.
If I wanted your help, I would have asked for it.
Exactly.
That's me. I'm the typical rude customer sometimes.
Yeah.
But I will always gravitate to what I'm looking for. I will always gravitate to something that I'm interested in, and then that's when the light comes on and the magic can happen. I don't make commission. I don't do anything like that. My commission is looking at people smile when they pick up a toy, or
Exactly.
smile when they pick up a comic book, because it's the same thing I do. I
Hmm.
like. I mean, this joined my collection this past week.
Oh,
Uh,
sweet. That's awesome.
1977 Remco Energized Spider. It was my favorite toy when I was a kid. And a customer of ours saw my Toy Axe video and saw how much I missed it and helped me find one. It's one of the nicest things anybody's ever done.
Wow.
And this made me giggle like a 5-year-old when he brought it into the store. And if I can help any customer like find anything near that level of joy, because my God, if we're ever in a time that we need joy in our lives, it's like right now. We
Like,
got to
yeah,
have stuff that makes me.
we
You
need
got to
it.
have stuff that makes you smile. You have to. And
Yeah.
if you don't actively go after it, you're going to end up like I was at the end of my teaching career, which was not pretty. So it's frowny all the time,
We need more joy.
more joy all the time. And if funny books and vintage toys can help you do that, then I got you. I'm the
Yeah.
man that can see.
And I do want to clarify for anybody that I that was not what I said earlier was not a dig at Tim trying to make him seem like a high pressure salesman or anything like that. My
No,
business
I no,
partner,
I for everybody out there too. I know Tim. He's one of our
he's
customers as well. He's a good person,
if anyone spreads joy, he's great at spreading joy, and he'll talk someone's ear off.
and
As
he's
long
an
I'm sure
ex.
he spends hours at Rebel Base when he can, you
Oh
know.
yeah,
So
and he's an excellent customer as well. I mean, he's one of those that comes in, tells us exactly what we want, we get it for him, and he's like, he sometimes can be the model customer. So I don't ask for more than that. Tim's great. Yeah,
yeah,
I didn't think you were digging at him at all.
no,
So
no, I just want to make he's not here to defend himself. He hasn't been on in a couple of stuff. I want to make sure.
I can see him
Um,
watching this later, going, "What,
what
Tyler?
did
What?"
like Tyler? You know, I did want to actually one more thing I wanted to ask, and this is non comic book related. I know you're into you're a band teacher, so obviously you would know about music. Music brings me a lot of joy. I'm a big Beatles fan, 60s, 70s music, Bob Dylan, all that stuff. When you're trying to relax and not do anything comic book related, do you have any artists that you gravitate toward or
it's
genres or
it's kind of funny being a professional musician and doing this for I've been a musician my since the day I picked up a clarinet and sax. But I like it's this is a hard question because people ask me all the time, well, who's your favorite band? I don't have one,
it's
because
hard to choose one.
I, I can find good in almost anything except like Taylor Swift. There's no good in that. But I like if I need to relax, I would like I can put on Rage Against the Machine, who's like
Yeah,
one
true.
of my bands, and relax to that. I can go to sleep to Tom Morello.
Hmm.
Um, I can throw on the soundtrack from Jaws and listen to some John Williams as fast as I can listen to Led Zeppelin 4. Um,
Right.
it's my wife really gets annoyed in the car riding with me because I can go from ABBA to Slayer in 4 seconds, and it drives her nuts with my music choices a lot of times. But I'm hoping people that come in the store and hear my playlist going, I've never had anyone complain, because in fact I have people tell me all the time that they like what I'm playing, and it's something different almost every day because again, our audience is diversified.
Yeah.
So, um, I mean, I guess to answer your question, I can listen to almost anything. I'm not a country music fan. Never,
Yeah.
never have been. My wife's that, and but other than that, I can find musical joy in almost anything.
Pretty
If
much.
it's written well and done well, then I'm gonna find something to enjoy about
Yeah. You might appreciate this is a running joke that Lauren and Nick and I had back at Nicholas Spot. We used to, we're big classic rock fans. So when we would have let's say Leonard Skinner is playing and it's got, like I don't know, I don't know, Sweet Home Alabama's playing. And so we'd be, someone's looking through books and we'd go, man, I love Queen. And the person would stop and kind of like look at us like we were idiots because we would just
it.
intentionally be like,
I'm
oh,
the guy. I'm the guy that would look at you and go, "What are you talking
you
about?
know,
what are you talking
Stairway
about?"
to Heaven song, we're like, love the Stones, just to get the reaction out of people. That was a fun
And
little,
we're exact opposite over at Rebel. Like we find ourselves talking on, especially on Wednesdays. We have several customers that are hangout customers, and we probably talk about music as much as we do comics and everything else.
yeah,
When a song comes over the playlist, it sparks. We've had numerous long conversations about music, and I mean, and it all boils down. We're talking about forms of art, you know,
yeah,
and building a toy, sketching a comic book, playing an instrument, they're all in the same vein. If you can, I find it very the coolest stuff in the universe is the coolest stuff that you can sit. If you can hold an at length conversation about it, it's art, in some
right.
form. And music is no exception. And we can debate and argue and have differing opinions, but at the same time, we spent 2 hours talking about a band. We that one song on a playlist came on,
Yeah.
and we spend hours talking about different things that leads us into different conversations. And the only thing we have an embargo on in stores, we don't talk politics in the store.
This is very smart. That's smart.
We don't do that. I try and shut that out almost every time I hear it, but a few get away from me. But we want our place to be a happy place, not you
Yes.
know
With joy.
so if you come in one day and you hear Rage Against the Machine, you come in the next day, you hear, Take a Chance on Me by ABBA. That's totally normal because I'm ADD and I taught music for almost 30 years. So you're going to
Right.
get different stuff from me.
Well, we started this whole conversation talking about Spider-Man and using great power comes great responsibility. And I think we've also touched on joy here. And it's cool that we have this power to bring about joy and all these things that we all love. We have different things, different heroes, different music and all that we appreciate. But, I think it all brings about joy. And I think it's fun that we are lucky enough to, you know, spend our time talking about these cool things that spark joy,
It's a dream come true. I mean, I used to joke with my wife all the time when I was deep into teaching and deep into band season. I'd go pick up my weekly comic books and go, man, it'd be fun if I worked there. And she's like,
Yeah.
it'd never pay the bills. Well, honey, never teaching didn't either. So but I am like I said at the start, I am lucky. I'm lucky to have a great customer base. I'm lucky to have a really good job. I'm lucky to have a boss in Troy that trusts me enough to do pretty much anything I want to, as long as it's in the good nature for the store. And
Yeah.
you don't get that level of trust a lot, and I do appreciate it. The same way that my kids at school always trusted me to do the right thing for them. Uh, Troy does that with me, and I appreciate it. My goal is to make the store better and people happy, because I think those two go hand in hand. You have happy customers, you're going to have happy profit lines,
Absolutely.
and so people spend money when they're happy, and that's not the only way to achieve happiness, but a hot toy doesn't hurt.
No,
I
it does not.
it's a cool action. Like I said in my toy action interview, toys are meant to be played with, and if like sitting in my room right now, surrounded by all my, like, at the end of the day, all my nerd junk, uh, makes me happy. And I can come in here, I can sit down, I can look at Venom or another Venom, or there's a lot of Venom in the room, a lot of Green Goblin too. I have a tendency for the bad guys as well as Spider-Man. It anything in your life right now that you can that makes you happy, don't let anyone tell you it sucks. Don't let anyone tell you it's stupid. No matter how, like, my wife collects American Girl dolls, and she sews and embroiders. She's extremely talented. That's the stuff that brings her joy. I don't understand it, but I'll buy her a doll. She don't understand a lot of what I do here, but man, some Spider-Man up here under the Christmas tree every year. Uh, Never let anybody tell you your passions, whatever they are dumb, because if they mean something to you, then it's important. And
Right.
at Rebel Base, that's what we really try and do is put people in touch with the stuff that makes them happy, and let them leave happy so they'll come back. you know.
That's awesome. And like you said earlier, this is a time where we need joy. People are stressed, and if you can find someone at a rebel base or at a con, and find spark for that joy, that's even better. And I know for sure Rebel Base is an awesome store that people can find amazing stuff in, and also just amazing people. So if you're in the Charlotte area or even coming passing through, definitely stop on by Rebel Base. Mike, this has been awesome. I really appreciate your time and joining me
Absolutely,
today.
anytime,
Um,
anytime.
I appreciate you and I appreciate Troy and everything you guys do. So thank you so much.
Absolutely, my friend, anytime.
All right, take care. Bye.
Yay, comics!